Hey, welcome back to GA Fan TV. My name is Aaron. I'm delighted to be joined here today by Darragh O'Connor from the Sideline View, here to preview the Roscommon footballers ahead of the upcoming 2021 National Football League. I suppose first of all, Darragh, how's things with yourself? I suppose we're not too long away from a GA return now.
Yeah, it seems like an age ago that the championships were in November and December, and brought a lot of happiness. And for them 8 9 weeks, you had something to watch on the Sunday, and it was really enjoyable championship. I know from Roscommon point of view, it was pretty poor and tame way we went out, but seeing the likes of Tipperary and Cavan win them championships really, even people from not from them counties, brought a smile to their face. So yeah, looking forward to the action returning. Hopefully it'll go all smoothly, and yeah, hopefully a good year ahead.
And I suppose ultimately, like, how would you reflect, I suppose, on the 2020 league and championship for Roscommon last year? Like, obviously got promoted back to Division 1 again, beaten in that game, of course, by Mayo. And obviously, if there had been qualifiers, who knows where you would have went? Who knows what would have happened? But how would you look back on it yourself?
Uh, Kind of mixed. I mean, you do forget about the league because the way we went out against Mayo, it was so poor that day. I mean, I was talking to Enda Smith on my podcast, and he said it was a 6 point hammering, and he was completely right. We could have lost by 15, 20 points that day. 6 points probably was very kind to us. When you look back at the league, it's yeah, we got the job done, won the league, which was probably a big target. So it's great to be back in Division 1. But you kind of always remember, same every year, you always remember how you exit the championship, and you nearly forget about the league. Even 2016, the year Roscommon were Division 1 with Fergal O'Donnell and Kevin McStay, we got to the semi-finals that year, but no one really remembers it because we lost to Clare and we got hammered in a kind of final against Galway. So it's always nearly you remember how you finish rather than how you start. Um, the fact you're in Division 1 again this year, you'd hope that hopefully we could stay up. I know the way the groups are done this year, it's slightly different, but we still should have a chance with playoff when playoffs come into consideration. And yeah, it'll be a big target to finally stay up because you don't want to be that team that's known as the yo-yo. It was us and Cavan. I know Cavan have actually gone down to Division 3, but if we could manage to maintain Division 1 status, it will definitely push us on. And again, hopefully we can compete that bit better when it comes to likes of Super 8s or quarterfinals. We won't be winning any All Irelands, but you want to nearly make that next step to maybe a semi-final one year, like Monaghan did. I always nearly go back to Monaghan. They've been there 5 6 years consistently enough for the last 8, and they got a semi-final. So I think that's probably the next step, if you like, for this team.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, and I suppose looking at the group that you're in, like you just mentioned it there, Dublin, Kerry, Galway. I suppose you probably could have been paired. Like, that's probably as tough as it gets, really. I mean, it's going to be very tough to see how Roscommon, I suppose, get in the top two. And I suppose, I think for most people, they probably have Roscommon finishing bottom, which feels quite harsh because I think they have a great team. But looking at that group, it's going to be very hard to see how they don't.
Well, that's exactly it. You might hope we obviously have Dublin in the first game, I think. So you hope maybe the Dubs usually in the league they might start that bit slower, maybe test out a few new players. And look, there's still Dublin. There's probably so many players we've never even heard of. Well, I'm pretty sure you have, but they're playing the clubs team that could easily get on any county team in the country. So that's what Dublin usually do. So you hope maybe you could catch them cold on the first game. We might just be that tad bit ahead of them. Galway, we're used to them. We have a decent record against Galway as well. So, but Galway, I'm sure we'll have a point to prove this year. Especially the great pre-lockdown, and then after it was really disappointing. Losing to Mayo twice and Dublin, so they'll be really looking forward to the year. And obviously Kerry are coming off that Cork loss, so they'd want to hit the ground running. A lot of criticism came their way, and probably rightly so, but they'll have another point to prove. So yeah, in terms of groups, yeah, really, apart from maybe Donegal, Galway, sort of them each their own, but it's just there's no easy game in Division 1, but we probably do have as tough as it gets now.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's definitely going to be a tough one, all right. Like, I reckon it will be kind of close enough, and I suppose at least the good side from your point of view is you have those tough games, obviously against Kerry, Dublin, Galway. But I suppose It could be an Armagh, Monaghan, maybe a Donegal, Tyrone. I mean, it depends what the situation in the other group pans out. But how do you kind of reckon that will go, and how do you reckon he's will get on against maybe an Armagh or a Monaghan if it is them in the bottom two?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely fancy our chances against Armagh or Monaghan, and they say the same about facing Roscommon. I'm pretty sure. If it came down to playoffs to stay up, they'll definitely fancy it. You probably imagine Donegal and Tyrone will, especially Tyrone again with new management, they'll try and hit the ground running, a bit like maybe Port Joyce did last year with Galway, try and get a lot of new players in. So yeah, if it came down to that, I'm sure the team would be confident. And it's kind of just, can you just stay up that 1 year, and then hopefully maybe you could stay 3 or 4 years. Yeah, it's hard to see Roscommon finishing in a top two in the group they're in. So, but if they can put good performances in, build a tiny bit of momentum, if that means losing to Kerry by 3 or 4 points, and then putting a good performance against Dublin, at least you're building momentum. Hopefully, players get into form, and you prepare yourself for that one big match or two against maybe it probably will be Monaghan or Armagh. You'd have to think. Monaghan, obviously, with the COVID thing, Banty's banned now as well. Armagh would probably look to start strong. So I say Monaghan will probably finish bottom of that group, I think. But then again, I write Monaghan off every year, and they always prove you wrong. So it's hard to know. The league's a bit unpredictable at the start of the year. You don't know where teams are at. Some teams are further ahead, and yeah, but hopefully it'll be enjoyable. It should be a good standard of games, and yeah, fingers crossed we can just manage to stay up this year.
Yeah, I suppose with the league, it's never really an accurate assumption, I suppose, of where teams are at. Like you seen last year, Kerry won the league and went out, and didn't even make a provincial final. Mayo, on the other hand, got relegated and made an All Ireland final. Cavan and Tip won their provincial titles and they're in Division Three. So it's the league isn't always like an accurate assumption. And Monaghan are one of them teams that could easily probably beat a Tyrone or a Donegal and then lose to an Armagh. That's kind of how they've been the past couple of years. But I'd imagine anyway for yourselves, like the main aim for Roscommon is just to, I suppose, build a bit of stability in Division One, stay there for maybe 1 or 2 years, and I suppose like if it was an eight-team tournament, I reckon you'd probably stay up. I think you'd get enough points. You'd probably be able to grind out a win against a Galway or one of them teams. But I suppose in this group, in that kind of group of four, it looks very tough indeed, doesn't it?
Yeah, because I go back to even 2 years ago, we were unlucky to go down. I think we bet Monaghan, we lost to Mayo by a point, we lost to Dublin by a few, we drew with Tyrone. So there was positive performances in that, and we won the Connacht title that year. So although we went down, I look back on that league as a good league because you could have easily stayed up, and you were playing them championship standard games that we could go to Mayo away then. Not having played, and again, Division Two is not a bad league, but it is a big step down. The teams, there's the couple towards the top. Maybe you'll have Mayo and maybe Kildare and a few, but the ones down the lower end, they're nowhere near the level of Division One. And if you can get them experience games, they're big games, Division One. I know there'll be no crowds in, but for the league, more I presume, anyways. So you're getting them big games into the legs. And yeah, hopefully the bounce of the ball. I look back on that Tyrone game, and I think we had a free in, and of course the bloody schmozzle, if you like, broke out. Tyrone do what Tyrone do, that bit of experience, and they get the hot ball, and we go down, and that's why Tyrone know how to win these games, stay in Division One the whole time. So it's even just that bit of experience, and they have experience in Division One. All these players have played Division One, so at least we're not going in cold. Maybe like Armagh, for instance, haven't played. None of the Armagh players have played Division One, I'd imagine. So we do have experience. A lot of them have played 2 or 3 years and kind of finals, Super 8 levels. So they should be well equipped to compete. Anyways, whether we can stay up is another thing. But I give us a fair chance if it came down against Monaghan or Armagh to stay up. I would give us a fair chance.
Yeah, I suppose, and obviously you have Stephen Poacher who came in there as I think he's going to be assistant coach to Anthony Cunningham. I suppose he's probably more known as more of a defensive coach from some of the work he done with Carlow and Down. But I've listened to him on a few podcasts before, and he seems very, very intelligent, seems to know the game really well. So I suppose is that kind of how you're seeing it? Like Roscommon are probably going to be a bit more. I mean, they've kind of been going along that defensive route anyway, but I feel like in 2021 in particular, it could be more of a defensive system, which could probably work for you as well, because we've seen Kerry, I think, I don't know what way Kerry are going to play this year, but I feel like if they play defensive again, you never know, you could cause a shock there.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how they do set up. I mean, see Stephen Poulter, there's no disrespect to Carlow, you probably just have to be that if you're coming up against better teams, Carlow can't compete against, and then you've seen the bit that Kildare in the Leinster Championship, and got a few wins in the qualifiers, like they can't compete against the better team. So I can understand it from that point of view. Whether an ultra defensive system, you have to win basically. If you don't win playing that style of football, it's not going to go down well at all. It's boring to watch. So kind of when Stephen Poulter came in, I agree, he's good to listen to, and I have listened to him in a few other podcasts. It was kind of a bit mixed. He is a name that everyone knows. Not many coaches are like that,
Yeah.
that aren't managers. So it kind of was a bit mixed, and it will be interesting to see, that first game against Dublin. Can we see the stamp? Is it more defensive? What's the change? Because you'd imagine he's been brought in to tweak something, at the very least. So look, you want to be competitive, but as I said, if you're going to lose games, at least go out fighting. The Mayo game last year in the championship, we didn't go out fighting at all. It was one tame performance I've watched under an Anthony Cunningham team. Anyways, it was really, really poor. So it'll be interesting to see what he brings. Obviously, he has that defensive sort of structure tag to him. So yeah, let's see what he brings to the table.
And obviously, like you were saying there, that game against Mayo kind of fizzled out, and I suppose it wasn't a performance that we really would expect to see with Roscommon. Normally, he's kind of go down fighting, especially in the past couple of years. Like, would you expect to maybe see some changes within that panel? Maybe some players coming up from under 20s, or some kind of fresh faces maybe coming in from. Obviously, there's been no club games or anything like that, so there's probably not going to be too many changes. But how do you see it yourself?
I'm pretty sure the panel will be the same as it was last year. I know they brought a few young lads in to the panel, but I don't think they'll be close to actually breaking into the even coming off the bench or starting. So it'll be pretty much the same. It's not an aging team. I mean, if you probably look at it, it's probably Cathal Craig and Conor Devaney are the only two over the 30-ish age. So most of them are still 27, 28, so that there's still a lot of time left. And there is still more improvement in them. There's no doubt about that. So it'll probably be similar. I mean, with the Merces, obviously Kieran missed the Mayo game. I think it could be due to some issue. And then Chairman only came on with 10 minutes to go, which was a bit strange at the time. And he kicked 3 points straight away. So if you can get them started off with the panel at the start of the year, hopefully get, integrate them back fully into the group. It was kind of nearly a rush job at the end. You nearly had to stick with what you had from the start of the year. They came back obviously just when it restarted there in October, November. And obviously your Conor Coxes, the Endadoni Smiths, Keamy Jones as well for his first year. He's 21. Midfield's probably the one area that we're still crying out for that one midfielder. Enda Smith has tried. He's nearly been thrown everywhere, full forward, half forward, midfield. So Cathal Compton came back there last year and didn't do too bad. So if we can start winning ball in midfield, that'd be something, because it has been our Achilles heel. But I can't see too major changes. I think the panel will be similar enough, and it'll be just interesting how he fits them in, because up forwards anyways, we do have a lot of options there, so it will be interesting to see how if you're going to play that defensive structure, you probably can't play two Mercers, two Smiths, Cox. You have to get that balance. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see, but I can't see many changes.
And ultimately then, like in the league itself, like who do you reckon is kind of like the favourite, or who would you kind of have down as maybe the team to go on and win it? And then I suppose on the flip side of that, do you think yous will then avoid the relegation, or do you think yous will go down?
I probably go with Kerry or Tyrone. I think they're two teams with a lot to prove. Maybe Tyrone. I might just go with them. I think they will finish in the top two in that group anyways. Obviously for All Ireland late in the year, I'd be back in Dublin. Like I said last year. I was kind of surprised last year that everyone was nearly tipping Kerry, and people I don't know whether it was Desi Farrell coming in or something, but it just Dublin are Dublin. I didn't see them getting any worse. They won their 2 league games last year before the championship, and they just looked as far ahead as everyone as they had the previous 5 years. So I'd probably just go with Tyrone. The new management, I even was chatting to Niall Morgan, and he seemed to be, eager enough to get started with them. I think Tyrone needed a change with Mickey Hart. I think he's done great stuff for Tyrone football, but again, maybe a bit like the Arsene Wenger thing with Arsenal, just hung on them 3-4 years too long, I think. So it wouldn't surprise me if it was a Kerry Tyrone final. Dublin kind of, again, blooding the players, they'll be fine. There'll be no relegation or anything. They could easily get to a final. From Roscommon, it's 2 teams that go down, I presume, as per usual, yeah.
Yeah, it's 2 teams.
Yeah. Yes. So again, if it was to come up with a game against Armagh or Monaghan to stay up, I give it every chance. As I said earlier, they would not mind playing Roscommon to stay up to keep your Division 1 status either. So it'll be interesting to see. I'd imagine it'll be then 3 teams. I don't know who the other team in that Roscommon's group will be. I'm just assuming. I love to dream of finishing in the top 2, but I can't see us ahead of Galway, Dublin or Kerry. So maybe Galway, but then again, they have another point to prove. So there's a lot of teams, I think, that have points to prove, players with points to prove. So it will be interesting, but I will back us to stay up. I think we will, yeah.
Yeah, I suppose like with Tyrone, when you were kind of going back to them there, like they're definitely, I suppose they're a team on everyone's lips at the moment, with the fact that obviously you've Conor McKenna and Cathal McShane potentially in there, Lee Brennan coming back. I mean, would you even look at them, I suppose, as the closest team to beat the Dubs, do you reckon, in 2021? I suppose we'll have to see how they go, because obviously a lot of people had Galway at one stage. They looked great in the league last year, and then obviously kind of fell off the moon a bit there towards the end. But what do you reckon yourself?
I still think Kerry are probably closest. I think Kerry have the players on their day, and we saw that 2 years ago to push it up to Dublin. And Clifford's getting that. I know he's been phenomenal so far, but he's getting them a few years more experience, getting that bit older. Shawnee O'Shea as well. They're still young lads. They're still 21. I mean, so young with what they've done already. So I probably still see Kerry. I mean, Mayo. It's hard to know at Mayo. They keep proving everyone wrong, but they still don't get over the line. And it's a big change in the panel. I know a lot of the lads that retired weren't playing anyways, but even just not having them around, them 6 or 7 players, it will be a big change to Mayo. Higgins, David Clark, Parsons, they're big for the last 10 years. They've been Mayo football. So it's be interesting to see with them. They're playing Division 2 football. I'd imagine they'll come straight back up. They should do. Probably then Meath, Kildare maybe off the top, or if Cork as well. Actually forgot about them. So probably them 4 teams will be up towards the top of Division 2. Tyrone, you've Donegal as well. Again, they'll have a point to prove as well. I mean, the way they lost that Ulster final to Cavan, Donegal seem to have this just habit of, when they get hyped up, they just can't get over that bit of the line, whether it be a Super 8 knockout game or as that Ulster final. They just can't seem to get over the line, and they have great players as well. But I think there is a gap to Dublin. I think anyone who said there isn't, it would be lying. Whether it be as big, I think it could be close this year. I think it will be closed, but I can't see anyone beating them. What they're going for is a 7 in a row now. I mean,
7, yeah.
it's ridiculous stuff. You just forget how many they've won. I mean, they could easily get to 10, easily, because Kilkenny's, Fenton's, all these players are going nowhere. And that's the scary thing. And they keep adding some every single year. It was Paddy Small and Butler last year, and even Robbie McDade the year before that. It could be Merchant and Brian Howard. It's just, they do it nearly quietly. Just put them 2 or 3 players in every single year, and you look at the change in the team. Connolly's and Brogans and Paul Flynn's, they're all gone, and they're still dominating. So yeah, I probably say Dublin, bit of a gap to Kerry, and then I think at Tyrone. I think I'll go Tyrone, maybe just the best out of sort of the top 2.
Hmm. Yeah, I kind of stand by what you say as well. I think Kerry probably are the most likely to beat Dublin. I tipped them to beat Dublin last year, and looking back, I think that took a lot out of me to predict Kerry to beat Dublin. But I felt like they would. But looking at it, I just feel like they're not ready yet. I feel like at some point they probably will beat Dublin. They might. I actually reckon they'll beat Dublin in the league this year. But whether they do it in the championship, I don't know. Like it seems probably a little bit early for them just yet, especially on the basis of how 2020 panned out. Would there be any other teams even kind of further down that you'd be looking at that could maybe cause a surprise? Like there's a few, obviously you've Cavan down there in Division 3, Tip down there as well, a few other teams that have come up from Division 4. Like would there be any teams you'd be looking at that could cause a shock or two?
Is this in terms of championship? Is it?
No, this is just in terms of the league, like in terms of any side that could potentially get promoted or even relegated, I suppose.
I'm trying to think. Division Two, I probably have to again Mayo and Cork or Meath. Obviously Tipperary and Cavan are Division Three, which is kind of crazy when they were in the All
Mm.
Ireland semi-finals. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with them. And even Division Four, I kind of have Sligo. I think Sligo will get promoted from Division Four this year. I think Tony McEntee is in now, and I think Sligo have to get out of Division Four.
Mm.
I mean, they're not a big county, but they're a proud footballing county. Down through the years, they'd always punch above their weight. You'd always have a tricky game against Sligo, and that's gone away the last 4 or 5 years. So I can see them definitely getting um out of Division Four, and I think it'd be a big target for Sligo because the problem this year for the smaller counties again is there's a no qualifier system. It's straight knockout. So if you get a bad draw in the provincials, like we saw with Westmeath getting Dublin, it all hinges on the league. You can't even get a proper run at it.
Mm.
So for them, Division 3 and 4 teams, they'll be targeted. The league is their championship, and it's even more so this year with no qualifier system. So I think Sligo will get out of Division 4, Division 3. I'm trying to think off the top of my head who's there apart from Tipperary or Cavan.
I
No,
think you got.
Limerick came up. I think Limerick could stay up. I mean, you remember they played Tipperary and they brought them to extra time, and that's by a point. You saw Tipperary beat
Mm.
Cork then, so Limerick have done really well, and it'd be good to see them stay up in Division Three because you need more teams, especially in the likes of Munster and Leinster to step up to the plate and not take over from Kerry or Dublin, but just give them a bit more of a test. So it's good to see Limerick and Wicklow got promoted as well from Division 4, and that was a bit of a good story. So I think Sligo would be a bit of a tip, I think, to get promoted from Division 4. Whether I don't know what the odds are, but I bet on Sligo getting out of Division 4 as a sort of a one that's forgotten about.
Mm. Yeah, I haven't seen the odds either, but I'd imagine, yeah, Sligo should be thereabouts. I mean, they're a team that I think has the quality there. I think even last year at certain points they looked nailed on for promotion at one point, but they just seemed to let themselves slip after the lockdown. I think after the lockdown there was just a lot of problems there. COVID situation as well, I think must have affected them. But yeah, it should be interesting how it pans out, and probably look at Loud maybe as well as maybe one of the teams that could. Yeah,
With Mickey Hart. Yeah,
yeah,
that happened so long ago. I just completely forgot. They're Division 4 as well, are they?
Division 4 as well. Yeah,
Yeah, so at least look, it's good publicity for Loud. So
yeah.
maybe allow Sligo double the two new managers coming in. I mean, you'd have to think Loud, and Loud should be capable of getting out of Division 4 as well. They're probably just borderline between both of them, bottom half Division 3 and top half Division 4. So Loud should be capable, especially with Mickey Hart, and it'd be a good buzz around Loud. And obviously Samuel Roy he scored everything for them last year. I mean, I think
Hmm.
the championship game he got was the whole 1-7. So yeah, it'd be a bit of excitement for Loud actually as well. You forget about stories like that the GA has been gone for so long. I know it's only 4 months, but it feels like an eternity when you think back before Christmas. It's been so long. So yeah, maybe you'd have to think Louth we should be there or thereabouts as well, and I go Louth Sligo to get out of Division.
Hmm. Yeah, I suppose that's the thing. Like, it's been, some teams have only played one game, or two games in the past year or whatever. Like, it's a little bit frustrating, I suppose, in that kind of way, because obviously it's very hard to call. Like when you don't really see the teams. But yeah, Darragh, I appreciate your time anyway, and I appreciate you jumping on. I'll link down the sideline view down below. I'm sure you'll be doing a preview at some point yourself anyway for when the league and everything else comes along.
Yeah. Hopefully now, get going again. It's between college work and everything to balance it. But once the football comes back, we'll get back on it. And it's just good to talk about, GA again. As I said there, you just forget about it. It just got parked to the side. And when you look at the football over in England now with all this Super League rubbish, it'd be just good to just get away from that sort of toxic side and start talking about GA again. But yeah, no bothers all there.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I agree with you as well. I think it's all kind of falling apart to other sports like with football, and then you have celebrity boxing and everything, and just all it's all just money making. Hopefully GA never gets to that, but yeah, no, cheers Darragh anyway for coming on. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, no bothers all.